Big updates right now that are coming in as this is the latest update from Chad Program saying that colleague Jennifer Griffin reports that U.S. airstrikes against targets in Syria have begun. This is in retaliation for the weekend strike, which killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan. So obviously, this has been some time in the making this past week after President Biden hearing of the news that airstrikes would happen at some time. We just didn't know when. Of course, Department of Defense, President Biden, and his staff knew, but now the rest of the world knows as well. As we are learning, U.S. airstrikes have begun in Syria. This is, of course, all in retaliation for the 3 U.S. service members that died in a surprised drone attack in Jordan last weekend. And today also marks the day where the 3 U.S. soldiers came back home, and President Biden was there to greet them at Dover. We do want to continue to give more updates and more messages that continue to come in as well, saying drone activity in the border areas of Syria and Iraq, complete evacuation of border points by Iranian-backed militias are ongoing. And again, Chad Program putting that colleague Jennifer Griffin reporting that U.S. airstrikes have begun in Syria. Of course, this is in retaliation for the weekend strike that killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan. We continue to get more updates right here on Live Now from Fox, and let's continue to listen as these targets are targeting Iran-backed militants for a drone strike on an American base that happened in Jordan last Sunday that, of course, killed 3 U.S. service members. Dozens of other American troops were wounded in that drone attack on the Tower 22 base near Jordan's border with Iraq and Syria. The U.S. says Iran is responsible for funding and arming the militants, while Iran has denied involvement. Earlier this week, President Joe Biden vowed that he would quickly respond, and we learned from the Department of Defense earlier this week as well that it not only would be a retaliatory attack, but also a multi-tiered attack as well. And we are learning of the first phase of this as U.S. airstrikes have begun at targets in Syria, pushing back on the Iranian-backed militants that have really continued this proxy war. Since October 7th, there have been more than 100 strikes against U.S. forces in the Red Sea, and these Red Sea attacks have been happening almost daily, almost frequently, to the point of that many vessels in the Red Sea are stopping in fear of attacks from these militants and these drone attacks as well. This started just moments ago in Syria that we can report to you from Fox News' Jennifer Griffin continuing to report this as well. And again, we have been showcasing 100 attacks have been happening to U.S. forces from this proxy war that continues. U.S. officials do confirm that U.S. military strikes in retaliation for a deadly attack on a U.S. base in Jordan have begun. And this also comes on the day of the 3 U.S. soldiers that paid the ultimate sacrifice came back to Dover as well. And there have been at least now, the current number from Fox News, at least 166 attacks on U.S. forces since October 7th. That, of course, is when the war in Israel happened. And these Iran-backed militants have been going after U.S. forces because of, the command and also of the support that U.S. does for Israel and has never wavered on their support as well. So we are continuing to follow this major breaking news This all happening, of course, on Sunday when the drone attack killed 3 U.S. service members. And that was the beginning. Of course, the U.S. immediately then went into a planning mode of how to retaliate and looked at ground forces as well as from the air on how to conduct this. And a plan was given to President Biden earlier this week on how to respond. He made the decision. And the U.S., as well as the rest of the world, waited for that official call from the Department of Defense, from the authorization of President Biden to conduct these airstrikes. Now, we have known that they have started in Syria. We don't know if they are going to continue to go to other areas in the Middle East, but right now it has begun in Syria. The airstrikes continue at this moment, and we are awaiting more updates from the Department of Defense. We don't know if there will be a statement from President Biden or if he will do an on-camera statement later today, or if it will be a statement from the White House. But we are continuing to look at that as the news comes of retaliation from the U.S. after 3 U.S. troops paid the ultimate sacrifice by being killed in a surprise drone attack that happened in Jordan on Sunday evening. Earlier today, President Biden attended the dignified transfer ceremony for the fallen troops as well. So it comes on a very somber day for our country, having the service members come back on American soil. And now we are learning of the U.S. airstriking beginning in targets in Syria at this moment. So we are going to keep an eye on this, stay with this story, and we are going to take our final break of the hour on Live Now from Fox. Stay right here with us. Always more to come.